All right, guys, welcome back to another amazing day trips. We have some incredible locations where we're going to be going to today. Gina, where are you headed off to?
I am headed out to Alameda to go to Rockwell Winery, which is settled on the old Navy base. So I'm really excited to see it because I heard it's incredible.
What the heck, man? I'm going out to Alameda. I'm going to go see the USS Hornet and take you guys on a tour there with not one, but 2 docents that we've been able to set up. So, want to get out of here?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Right now, we're on the USS Hornet. What you see behind me is the capsule that the Apollo missions used when they came back from the moon. This actual capsule was one that they used as a prototype. Now, this is only going to be one of the many fun, unique, and cool things we're going to explore here on the island. You know what? I've been really excited to come here and learn from you. I know that you're the master of all knowledge here on the ship, and so I'm excited to learn from you. Tell me a few of the things we're going to take a look at.
Sure, we're going to see the ship as a whole unit, how it operates and how it all works together. We'll see things, everything, the dining areas, working areas, all the way to combat information center, the navigation center, and even maybe the brig. We may go down there.
I belong in the brig, so this is, I might spend the rest of the trip there.
Brig, well, let's give you a tour of every place you want to go.
Fantastic. Mike, let's go start this trip.
Sure, let's go.
Let's go. So, Mike, amongst all the really different and interesting things here on the ship, the capsule behind you has unique significance. Tell me a little bit about it.
Right, this is called a Blanc Mod capsule. It was done in the early Apollo program as a ballistic test, basically, to see how the thing was shook open in the air,
right,
and the parachutes open up and bring it back down to Earth. It was shot up in a basically a suborbital type pattern,
right,
and brought back down. And it was, no one was in it. It was just a dummy, basically, but it helped the scientists determine how the ballistics and how the capsule would react to being shot up in space.
You know, I know how I would feel if I got shot up in space and I wouldn't even fit in that capsule.
Yeah, it's very cramped in there. You got to be very small to be an
very
astronaut.
small person. But there's a funny rumor I heard that they rumored that there was space bugs.
Right.
What did they do when they thought there were space bugs?
Well, they didn't know. They were pretty sure there weren't any contaminants on the moon during the program, during the Apollo program, but they weren't 100% sure because no one had ever been there before.
Their first time.
How do you know? So what they determined, they put together a quarantine program, and Airstream Trailer built these trailers for the NASA program, and it basically put the astronauts in there with a flight surgeon to test them during the time, and they spent about 3 weeks in there. And subsequent lunar
3
mission,
weeks without coming out of that quarantine.
well,
so they
kind of, but
slept.
not really. They the first couple of days they were in there as they were on the ship going back to Pearl Harbor.
Oh.
This entire trailer was then offloaded and put in the back of an Air Force jet and flown to Houston. When they got to Houston, they had a separate little facility there, kind of like a little bungalow.
Yeah.
And they went in there and they lived in that rather than this this little trailer here. Now this trailer is kind of small and cramped, but compared to the capsule, it's the Hilton.
This is a luxury living
Yes,
facility.
it is.
You know what? I've peeked around in it, and it's really for the time. It's pretty nice. And
right. It has it has a microwave, which in 1969 not many people had microwave ovens. And they'd pass through food. There's a little door in here, like a little pass through for
right there on the
right,
side.
where they'd pass in meals that could be reheated in that microwave, and other things. But there's a flight surgeon and a technician along with the 3 astronauts in there. As I said, they loaded this off the ship in the back of an Air Force jet in Pearl Harbor. It was flown to Houston. Then the astronauts and their crew with them could get off, and they got basically a bungalow on the Houston Space Center there where they live in quarantine rather than in this trailer.
Well, we know we don't want space bugs roaming Earth, so that's
Right.
a good thing that we took precautions about this. Now, is this the only one of its kind?
There are 3 known in existence. This is the one that was built for Apollo 14.
Okay.
The Apollo 11 is at the Kennedy, I'm sure at the Smithsonian. Apollo 12, I believe, is at another museum. And all the others, they didn't use because they determined after 14 that they really didn't have to worry about it.
What I should probably do is hit up Airstream and see if I get the leftovers and take myself on a luxury cruise through the
Right.
States. Well, Mike, the Airstream was fascinating, but this helicopter brings back memories of something. What is the significance of this helicopter?
Well, first off, this is the same model helicopter that covered Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 astronauts.
Really?
And it was actually used in Gemini 7. But what most people know this helicopter for was it was used in the movie Apollo 13, about the Apollo 13 mission. So it actually rescued Tom Hanks.
So this literally rescued Tom Hanks.
Right, this was used in the movie Apollo 13.
Oh, that is hilarious. And you guys have it here on display. So it still is in operation.
Yeah, well, not operational anymore, but it was operational at that time.
What else? Now, what do you say? Why don't we get in and take a fly around the ship?
Well, I'd love to do that, but the guy who maintains it, he doesn't want us to do that.
Okay, well then we'll take that off the table. Let's go keep taking a look at the ship.
Yeah, this is a TBM. This is a torpedo bomber. This was used during World War II. This type of aircraft, not this one specifically, but had a very famous pilot, a gentleman named George H.W. Bush.
Oh yeah, I've never heard of him.
Yeah, and he unfortunately was shot down during the Pacific.
Really?
He bailed out and was rescued by a submarine, but it was this type of aircraft that he was flying.
Big.
It is a big plane. It had 2 other crewmen, a torpedoman and a radioman.
Wait, there's
And-
3 people that fly in there?
Yes. And here's the torpedo like they would drop towards the ship.
Oh my gosh, that is an unbelievable thing. Mike, that looks like a giant elevator.
It is exactly what that is. The deck above us drops down to this level. We'll then push an aircraft on top of it. It goes back up to the flight deck, and so they get planes on off the flight deck.
That is, I don't think the elevator in my building goes that fast, but it is pushing 10 up and down that thing as fast as it can.
It does in about 10, 12 seconds. It's pretty impressive, very smooth, and it gets up and down with no trouble at all.
How fast could they launch aircraft? Like if it was in a wartime or they're being under attack, how fast could they launch?
They can launch them probably about every minute or so. It depends on, make sure that one plane got off safely and then go out, get in the pattern, and the other plane launches off.
Now, I know that you have to get going, but I know that you're going to pass this off to someone else. Who are we meeting?
We're going to meet one of our docents. We have the world's greatest docents on this ship. Doug Wright's going to be showing you the rest of the ship, and he has as much knowledge and maybe more so than I do.
Mike, you've been a pleasure and a dream. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day, and thanks for letting us be on the
Great.
show.
I'm happy to be on the Hornet, and I hope you can have all your questions answered today.
This is what we call CIC. It's an acronym for Combat Information Center. These boards are for both ships and for aircraft.
Oh, wow.
And these boards sort of tell it all. And it is a very complex, tells us exactly what's going on with friend and foe, and all the information is then funneled into the commander of this group and then sent up to the captain of the ship.
So this is more or less the nerve center of
It
the
is
entire
the
operations when either you're under attack or just when you're out and about, just kind of looking at who's around, the good and the bad. But
exactly.
this is the ship side?
This is the ship side.
Ship
this is
side.
where we're monitoring friend and foe ships. And then from this point this way, it monitors all the aircraft.
Well, Keith, I understand that you actually were in the CIC. This was where you worked, right?
Yes, not on this ship, but on other ships, the same time frame, same kind of equipment and mission and all that kind of stuff.
Tell me a little bit about this that we, the common layman as me would not know about this. Because, when you walked in here, it's like walking into a scene in Star Wars.
This ship was decommissioned in 1970, 25 years before females were assigned to warships in the United States Navy.
Gotcha.
Now, these status boards, there's one qualifier on the being behind them, and that is those three over there, there's room behind them. The big guy and those the two little status boards, not over there to the left.
Oh, over these things. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
There's room behind them. You go behind there, and that's where you're writing. And it's not too difficult. It takes about a minute or two of practice, and you're good to go. In fact, that's an entry level position. When you first start working in here, boom, you're back there with a grease pencil rag, and you got your sound powered phones on, and the guys out here in the scopes are shooting information at you. You've got to write on.
How many people are in this room?
On a typical, we're just going from point A to point B. We're not doing any operations. It only takes a half a dozen to man the shipping area. Then during operations like in the Gulf of Tonkin, there'd be about 24, 26 guys in here. And general quarters would even be more than.
Well, you know what? Okay, so I want to pick your brain really quickly. We're taking a look at a board over here and it has a layout of ships, but there's historical value to it. What does that mean?
Yes, that's actually very cool formation, ship's formation. It is a formation that actually took place. There's over 50 ships in that formation.
Really, 50?
It's March of 1945. It's the invasion of Okinawa. And the Hornet was deployed to support the Vietnam effort 3 different times. But in her whole life as a ship in the United States Navy, it was actually deployed over to the Western Pacific about 6 or 7 times.
Oh, okay, this is another interesting space. This is we call it the secret room. It's guarded by an armed Marine Corps guy out here. You can notice it's got a combination lock.
did.
Nobody passes that Marine Corps guy.
Because he's got his machine gun and he's ready to
He's
go to
ready to
action.
take him out because what's discussed in this room is secret.
So you get to have top secret clearance to be in this room. Oh, how many people on the ship actually had clearance to be in here?
Well, it's probably with the captain down and special folks. I'd say probably 20 people.
We have, you call them
Pneumatic tubes.
pneumatic tubes, and you were telling me that they come from different places. They drop in, they have the capsules, and this is the stuff that gets decoded, right? And this is coming from other vessels or
Other departments on the ship. These are, which we're going to see some of those. These tubes come in here. The information that is taken out of this tube and is evaluated to its clearances, and if it's really top secret, it's going to end up with the captain. The captain then is going to deal with the messages that come through this area.
So the information about the capsule and where the capsule's location, that came into this room, right?
That's correct. Yeah, this is sort of a clearing center for all these different areas on board the ship. Okay, this is another space that's involved with our secret room. This is top secret radio equipment that would be transmitting information to other ships, the Pentagon, other installations around the world that require secret clearances, and they also have that their equipment is also set up to be top secret. So
it can talk to each other. So it's like, and it's the original kind of interface for top secret. And you said before when we came in that these wires, the red is a very unique color. What's the meaning of the red on the wires?
well, those wires indicate that that equipment with the red lines are secret.
Secret.
Most of it's encrypted. So if on one end it says we're going to hit XYZ location at a certain time, that would then come over to another secret department.
You need like a secret decoder key for this?
Well, yeah, it's first of all, it's encrypted. Encrypted means it's going to go this area at a certain time, and then it's going to hit up the other space, the other area, with that wording. It simply is, I'll order a pepperoni pizza, and pepperoni pizza comes up on the other side. Okay, another combination room.
Oh, this must mean that nobody gets in here.
Well, we're getting deeper and deeper, and again, this is an area, so it's got a Marine Corps guard waiting for action. He's not going to allow anybody to get through here. This room has a lot of top secret, or did during World War II. There were cabinets lined up in here with very top secret pertinent information regarding the ship and its mission and other secret materials that were stored in here. As you can see, these bags here, these are weighted at the bottom. If the ship was under siege,
Oh, that's heavy.
we would be able to put our documents in there. They would go outside this little hatch here, and then they would be thrown overboard and
Bombed
sunk.
away.
Yeah, be sunk. So we're protecting the integrity of our top secret information for the government.
But this was done at last ditch. Like if
We're ready to-
ship was
we're-
going down or we're getting boarded, then we're throwing stuff overboard.
Exactly, right. Last effort, last ditch to get all our top secret material out of the ship.
Tell me about this. Is this a telegraph?
That's a telegraph, and it's kind of interesting. You see that black cover? Pull
Yes.
that black cover up. Now, a lot of the kids that we bring in here don't know what that is. It's an old manual typewriter.
The first computer.
That's right. But they don't know what the teletype is and this old typewriter. It's pretty amazing that it's still in the shape that it's in.
Well, if you want to confuse young kids, just give them a typewriter and say, go Google search.
Go for it.
They're
Now,
not
one
fun.
other thing I want to point out, we even burn material. So we have a burn bag up here just to show you that we do burn material as well as dumping it overseas, over the rail.
Would you take that burn bag and put it through that same hole?
We would take it, we would have the top secret information in here. It would go through that hole. It would be burned outside. Wouldn't be burned inside
So
this room.
who's outside the hole?
There's people that are manning that area, especially we're under general quarters. So there's certain positions that are under general quarters. It could be the baker, it could be somebody working in the cafeteria, in our mess hall. During general quarters, they have a different assignment. They're assigned to work other areas. That's throughout the ship.
Question for you on that one. During that type of time, were they vetted? Were they, because obviously they had to be trustworthy because they're holding the secrets of the ship.
Those people probably had some clearance to be able to handle these documents, but more often than not, very few people ever got into this space. So it might have even been people that were connected to this area that would be ready to launch it overboard. So this, where I'm sitting, would be where the air boss is going to be sitting, and his rank is generally an 05 commander.
Okay.
He's a former pilot that flew on and off aircraft carriers, and this is a job that he would probably get before he became potentially a captain of the ship on his own self. Okay, some of the things I wanted to point out to you is some of the instruments up here. Primarily when we are at nighttime, probably the most difficult thing is to get an airplane on the flight deck, and especially in a storm and so forth. So we have what we call a Fresnel lighting system, and you can see the light bar out on the port side.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what the pilot is going to see these meatballs. This indicates that he's coming in too high. This red indicates that he's coming in too low. So this meatball was right on the center line. He's right on the mark, and there's a lot more detail on the Fresnel lighting system. But I also wanted to show you that this sketch here, if a pilot happened to have his tail hook shot off, that would make it almost impossible for him to stop on board on the flight
catch
deck.
him in the net.
So we have a net that's extended all across the runway there, and it's called a Davis barrier. So they can set this up in about a minute, and strictly it is a net that stops the aircraft. There might be some damage to the aircraft, but it's going to stop and get the pilot will be safe and without too much damage to the aircraft.
Actually,
So
see
that's
exactly where that is out there.
Yeah, so there's an upright there.
Yep.
They'd have another upright on the port, and then that would be strung across the flight deck. Then all these gauges here, this one's actually pretty important. This guy right here, when the aircraft comes across maybe about a mile out, they'll radio in here how much fuel they have left. We can make adjustments on the arresting gear, which runs across the flight deck. We can either make it a little tighter or a little bit looser depending on the weight of the aircraft.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So he's calling in. This is all the lights that we have on board the flight deck or on the flight deck, and these would be illuminated obviously at nighttime, so forth. This board here represents the status of a particular aircraft. Over here on the right hand side of this board we say bingo field. That means that he did get his tail hook shot off, and he's really kind of like in a bad position. He will land at an airport somewhere on land somewhere.
All right. Hey, Doug, thank you so much for letting us on the ship today. It is a true pleasure. This is a true day trip. If anyone's thinking about checking out Alameda, they got to come by, cross you by name, and take a look at the Hornet.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Come back again.
I will.
Good.
Real estate. Is it a good time to buy, or is it a good time to sell here in the Bay? My name is Greg McDaniel, and I've been a real estate agent for just under 20 years. My father, our principal broker, got into the business 47 years ago, and together with our team have helped hundreds of families buy and sell. And then we can advise you as well if it's the right time for you to buy or sell. The number on the bottom of the screen will go directly to us. If you guys want to have a conversation, we look forward to it and have a great day.
Okay, so fill us in on what we're gonna do now.
Totally. So we're about to load the press with some estate Blanc de Noir grapes. So Pinot Noir grown by my family up in Rushing River. And I'm gonna throw it in the press and we're gonna make some sparkling wine.
I'm excited. Woo! I love that sound.
Me too.
Okay, so while you're pouring, fill me in. So we are now in the barrel room.
Yeah, so we're in the barrel room. So this is where the wine ages once it's done fermenting. It also doubles as our event space. People get married, we have awesome parties here. Yeah.
I know Scott's was talking about doing some events with you too.
Sick.
So I'm excited.
Awesome.
So once they leave those silver barrels, we bring them into these.
That's a great question. So sometimes sparkling wine can be stored in barrels, but here I don't store it in barrels.
Okay.
So this barrel room is generally for red wine. So Zinfandel, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, and then all of my weird little Italian varietals that I do.
I love it. We love the Italians.
We love
I am
it.
one myself. So are you mostly known for your reds or are you known for your sparklings?
Well, I think initially I was mostly known, my dad was known for Old Vine Zinfandel, and so that's sort of what I learned how to make initially was Old Vine Zinfandel. And then my interest sort of spread far and wide, and I'm obsessed with sparkling wine, so I make a lot of sparkling wine.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are in some of these barrels? And the aging process, I know you said that one can take
Yeah.
up to 4 months.
Yeah.
So if we're not sparkling, we move them into these?
Yeah, exactly. So once it's done fermenting, we rack it into barrels, and then basically it starts the aging process. And the aging process can be anywhere between 4 months and 2 years, just depending on how much tannin the grapes have, like if it's bitter or sort of has a flavor that I want to velvet out, you can do that with age, or if I want oak flavor imparted, that happens over time
Is
as
that
well.
a different barrel and whatnot?
Exactly, and so you'll notice I have a ton of different types of different barrels, because each barrel has its own flavor profile. So American oak versus French oak versus which forest in France we decide to harvest the wood from.
Wow,
it's
that's fascinating.
It's really complex. Like even to make a French oak barrel, the oak tree in France has to be a minimum of 200 years old to be considered to be made into an oak barrel. And Napoleon actually started that sustainability program, which is insane.
How would you even know if a tree was 200 years old?
Yeah.
This might be a
Count the
silly-
rings, count the rings.
It's like bigger the price, where's the bigger the base? Okay, this might be a silly question. Can we try some of them from one of the barrels?
Yes, definitely. Let's do it.
Excited.
Yes.
Okay, I know we're gonna taste, and I
Yes.
think you said that there is a really interesting name for how we pull the
So-
wine out. And then how long has this wine been fermenting?
So this one is done fermenting, and it's been aging in oak for about a year now. And something really special about the wine we're about to taste, it comes from very, very old vines. So these vines were planted in 1888. 1888, yeah.
How
up
are
in
grapes
Sonoma.
that sustainable?
So there are only certain vineyards in California that have old vines like that. And basically they have a specific type of soil because early in the 1900s there was something called phylloxera, which is a root louse that basically attacked a lot of the vines in the United States and in France. But the only vines that were phylloxera proof were vines that were planted in sand and also in this very specific type of soil that we have up in Sonoma. So,
There's some big words. I'm impressed that you remember all of this.
really, really beautiful wine. So really juicy and fruit forward, raspberry, strawberry, blackberry,
delicious.
coconut, yeah.
And you said this was a Pinot?
Zinfandel.
Oh, Zin.
Zinfandel,
I
yeah.
love Zins.
Zinfandel. And so these old heritage vines that were planted in the 1800s, Most of them are field blends. So meaning that the people who planted the vineyards planted multiple varieties within the vineyard, not just Zinfandel. So this is Zinfandel, Alicante Bouschet, Carignan, and then there's 3 white grapes in there too. So
in this one?
Yes. So Muscadel, Semillon, and Viognier.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I co-ferment everything out of respect for the vineyard, for the heritage vines, and that's why we get these really lifted sort of aromatics like the strawberry and everything like that.
I love how hands-on you are. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I make all the wine with these hands.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for having us out today.
Literally my pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm famished because that is a big boat.
Yeah.
I can't call it a boat, it's a ship. It's a big ship.
Valid. Well, I figured you'd be famished, so I took the liberty of already ordering for us.
Thank you.
This is off the extravaganza menu here at Scott's in Walnut Creek. It is our Parmesan bacon encrusted salmon with our mashed potatoes and vegetables. And then obviously I got us 2 glasses of wine with our Scott's brand wine.
You know me so well.
I do.
Let's,
I do.
wanna try it?
Yeah, let's dig in.
Oh my God, that really gonna get you at the end of the day. You get a little bit of food in your system. Let me try some of this salmon.
So good. The best part about salmon is anti-aging.
That's a good thing for you and me. But the food here is always fantastic. You always take such good care of me. You know what? So the next time we do a day trip.
Oh, thank you for always ending your day here at Scott's.
My pleasure.